Imagine waking up every day with complete clarity, laser focus, and unstoppable confidence because your mind is already wired for success. What if I told you that the difference between a struggling life and a rich, fulfilling one isn't luck or talent, but a mindset? In this message, we're going to break down exactly how to rewire your thinking to unlock wealth, achievement, and purpose in every area of your life. This isn't theory, it's a proven framework used by some of the most successful people on the planet. Let's dive into Rich Mind, Rich Life. Rewire for Success. Step 1, dot. Success starts in the mind. Everything begins with your thinking. The way you perceive the world, the way you interpret events, and the way you see yourself. All of it originates in your mind. Long before any external achievement shows up in your life, it has already taken root internally as a thought, a belief, or a vision. The most successful people in the world didn't just stumble into wealth, happiness, or fulfillment. They thought their way there. They created mental blueprints of the life they wanted, and then they followed those blueprints with relentless focus. Your mind is your most powerful tool, but it can also be your biggest obstacle. If you constantly entertain doubt, fear, or scarcity, those patterns become internal programs that direct your actions, often without you realizing it. You could have all the talent in the world, but if your inner dialogue is negative or uncertain, you'll sabotage your own progress. Conversely, even if you start with nothing, a person with a strong, focused, and positive mindset can create extraordinary results over time. Most people go through life reacting to circumstances. They believe that success is about luck, timing, or external forces beyond their control. But high achievers know better. They understand that the mind shapes reality. Your beliefs act like filters. They determine what you notice, what you pursue, and what you ignore. If you believe you're capable, you'll find ways to grow. If you believe you're not, you'll find excuses to stay the same. Every breakthrough in business, relationships, health, or finances begins with a shift in thinking. It's the decision to no longer tolerate mediocrity. It's the realization that you're in control of your destiny, not a victim of circumstance. When you begin to think differently, you feel differently, you behave differently, and slowly the world around you begins to reflect the change within. The mind is not just where the journey begins, it is the journey. Everything you want starts with the thoughts you allow, the beliefs you hold, and the identity you choose to embrace. Step 2, clarity is power. Clarity is one of the most underrated forces in personal achievement. When you are absolutely clear about what you want, you ignite a chain reaction in your mind that begins to organize your thoughts, focus your energy, and sharpen your decision making. Clarity gives direction to your life. It's the difference between wandering aimlessly and moving forward with purpose. Without clarity, people drift. They get caught in cycles of distraction, procrastination, and doubt because they're not sure what they're aiming for. But with clarity, every step has meaning. Every decision becomes easier because you know exactly where you're headed. The human brain is designed to solve problems and pursue goals, but it can only operate at full capacity when the goal is defined. Vague desires like, I want to be successful or I want to be happy, don't activate your full potential. Your mind needs specifics. What does success look like? How much money do you want to earn? What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? What kind of work do you want to do every day? When you answer these questions with precision, you give your subconscious mind a target and it will begin working day and night to help you reach it. Clarity also brings confidence. When you know what you want and why you want it, you become more decisive. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop comparing your path to others. You eliminate distractions faster because anything that doesn't serve your vision becomes noise. And when setbacks happen, and they always do, clarity keeps you grounded. You don't quit just because things get tough. You adjust, you pivot, but you don't lose sight of the goal. Most people spend more time planning a vacation than they do planning their life. They wake up, go through the motions, and hope things will work out. But high achievers take time to sit down and define what they truly want. They write it down. They break it into steps. They review it often. Clarity becomes their internal compass, keeping them focused even when life gets chaotic. It helps them conserve energy because they're not constantly pulled in 10 directions. They're moving with intention. They're filtering opportunities based on alignment, not impulse. They're living by design, not by default. Clarity also influences how others respond to you. When you communicate your goals clearly, whether in business, relationships, or leadership, people trust you more. They know where you stand. They understand your standards. You become a person of conviction, someone who's not just busy, but effective. That kind of certainty attracts resources, opportunities, and allies who want to be part of something meaningful. Step 3. The discipline is the master key. The self-discipline is the bridge between intention and execution. It's the force that turns dreams into reality and goals into results. You can have the best ideas, the clearest vision, and all the resources in the world, but without the discipline to act on them consistently, they will remain unrealized potential. Self-discipline is doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's showing up for your future self, even when your present self wants comfort, distraction, or escape. Every successful person you admire has developed a deep respect for the power of self-discipline. They understand that emotions are fleeting, motivation comes and goes, but discipline is what keeps the train moving. They don't rely on inspiration to get things done. They rely on habits, structure, and commitment. They know that results are earned through repetition, not bursts of effort. Whether it's waking up early to work on a goal, staying late to finish a project, or saying no to short-term pleasure in favor of long-term gain, discipline is the common denominator of achievement. It begins with the small decisions. Getting out of bed when the alarm goes off, choosing to read instead of scrolling, saying no when it's easier to say yes. These micro choices compound over time and create identity. When you act with discipline, you start to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who's in control. And once your self-image shifts, your entire life follows. Confidence grows, productivity increases, chaos decreases. You begin to trust yourself because you've proven that your actions match your intentions. Self-discipline is also a form of freedom. It may sound paradoxical, but the more disciplined you become, the more freedom you actually create. You're no longer a slave to impulses, moods, or outside circumstances. You take control of your schedule. You take control of your income. You take control of your energy. People who lack discipline live in constant reaction. They wait for the right time. They chase every distraction. They let external events dictate their direction. But those who master discipline become proactive creators of their life. They set a course and stay on it. Developing self-discipline is a process. It's not something you either have or don't have. It's something you build like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. And the key is consistency, not perfection. You don't have to be extreme, you just have to be steady. You can start with one commitment. Stick to your morning routine. Go to the gym 3 times a week. Set a timer for focused work sessions. As you keep showing up, discipline starts to feel less like a burden and more like a source of pride. You begin to crave structure because you've seen what it makes possible. You understand that short-term discomfort is the price of long-term fulfillment. Step 4, you become what you repeatedly do. Your life is the sum total of your habits. What you do consistently, not occasionally, is what ultimately defines your results, your identity, and your future. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And those systems are built from your daily actions. Excellence isn't something you achieve once, it's something you practice every single day. Success doesn't come from one big decision or one lucky break. It's the byproduct of repeated behaviors, small disciplines, and tiny choices made over and over again, often when no one is watching. Think of any area of life, your health, your finances, your relationships, your career. None of those transform overnight. They evolve through habit. Eating healthy once doesn't change your body. Going to the gym for a week doesn't build strength. Reading one book won't change your mindset. But do these things repeatedly and they compound. Over time, these repeated actions rewire your identity. You no longer just work out, you are someone who is fit. You no longer just read, you are someone who values growth. That identity shift is powerful because once you see yourself differently, you behave accordingly. Habits are the invisible architecture of success. They determine how you start your day, how you spend your time, how you handle stress, and how you approach opportunity. Most people don't fail because of a lack of desire. They fail because of a lack of structure. They rely on motivation, which is temporary, instead of habits, which are automatic. Once something becomes habitual, it no longer requires willpower. It becomes part of who you are. That's why small disciplines are so important. Done consistently, they reprogram your behavior at the identity level. Repetition also trains your brain. Each time you repeat an action, whether it's checking your phone or practicing gratitude, you reinforce a neural pathway. Eventually, your brain prioritizes the familiar, and that becomes your default mode. This is why bad habits are so hard to break. They're deeply ingrained. But it's also why good habits can be just as powerful once you install them. The key is awareness and intentional repetition. You must consciously replace unproductive patterns with purposeful ones, one behavior at a time. The truth is, success isn't something you chase, it's something you build. And you build it through your routines. Morning routines, work routines, evening habits. These daily loops form the foundation of your life. When you align your habits with your goals, progress becomes automatic. You stop relying on willpower because your environment and behavior are pulling you in the right direction. That's how high achievers maintain consistency. They don't leave it to chance. They design their life around the version of themselves they want to become. What you do occasionally may feel good in the moment, but it's what you do repeatedly that leaves a lasting imprint on your life. The real transformation comes not from massive change, but from small, repeated steps taken with intention. Over time, those steps stack up and they become your lifestyle, they become your character, they become your destiny. Step 5, visualize and affirm daily. The mind is an incredibly powerful tool, and one of its most underutilized abilities is its capacity to visualize and bring imagined realities into physical form. What you consistently hold in your mind with emotion and belief begins to shape your actions, your identity, and eventually your circumstances. Visualization and affirmation are not just motivational buzzwords. They are mental conditioning techniques used by elite athletes, successful entrepreneurs, and peak performers in every field. These practices are about programming the subconscious mind to expect success, to feel worthy of it, and to actively seek it out through behavior, focus, and energy. When you visualize, you are rehearsing your future. You are training your mind to see yourself already achieving the goals you set. This mental imagery creates a blueprint, a pattern that your subconscious works to replicate in reality. The brain doesn't fully distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. So when you repeatedly picture yourself closing the deal, giving the perfect presentation, living in your dream home, or operating with confidence and clarity, your brain begins to normalize those outcomes. They go from being distant hopes to familiar, expected realities. That familiarity is crucial because it reduces fear and self-doubt and increases your willingness to act boldly. Affirmations work hand in hand with visualization. They are declarations of who you are becoming, spoken as if you already are. They're not about lying to yourself. They're about training your internal dialogue to support your vision instead of sabotaging it. Most people go through life with negative self-talk running on autopilot. I'm not good enough. I never follow through. Success isn't for people like me. These statements become self-fulfilling. But when you consistently affirm empowering beliefs, I am focused and disciplined, I attract success, I am worthy of abundance, you interrupt that old programming and replace it with a new identity. This process isn't magic, it's mental repetition. Just like physical repetition builds muscle, mental repetition builds belief, and belief drives behavior. The more often you visualize and affirm your goals, the more emotionally connected you become to them. That emotional intensity is fuel. It motivates you to take the steps others won't. It strengthens your ability to endure setbacks because you've already seen yourself overcome them in your mind. You start to operate with a quiet certainty, not because you're lucky, but because your vision is deeply embedded in your consciousness. Visualization and affirmation also help you focus. In a world full of distractions, your attention is your most valuable currency. When you begin each day by mentally rehearsing your goals and speaking life into them, you anchor your focus. You remind yourself of what matters. You train your brain to scan the environment for opportunities, connections, and resources that align with your vision. You become more intentional with your time, more selective with your choices, and more resilient when obstacles appear, because you're being pulled by a compelling inner image of the future you've already decided is yours. This is a practice, not a one-time event. It takes commitment. It takes consistency. But over time, the daily act of seeing and speaking your success conditions your mind to work with you instead of against you. You stop waiting for permission or perfect timing, and you begin to act like the person you're becoming. Step 6, never stop learning and growing. Personal growth is not a phase. It's a lifelong commitment. The moment you decide you know enough or have grown enough is the moment you begin to plateau. The world is constantly evolving, industries are shifting, technology is advancing, and the only way to stay relevant, competitive, and fulfilled is to keep learning. Growth-minded individuals understand that success is never static, it's dynamic, fluid, and deeply connected to how much you're willing to stretch beyond your current limits. The people who continue to rise are not necessarily the smartest, richest, or most talented. They are the ones who stay curious, stay humble, and stay hungry for more. Learning doesn't just come from books or classrooms. It comes from observing patterns, listening deeply, asking questions, and seeking feedback. It's found in mentorship, in challenges, in trial and error. Every experience, whether it feels like a win or a failure, contains a lesson. Growth-minded people extract those lessons. They reflect, they refine, they evolve. They don't fear mistakes because they see them as data, as direction. They don't resist discomfort because they understand that comfort is the enemy of growth. Progress lives outside of what is familiar and easy. When you commit to learning, you expand your possibilities. A new idea can spark a breakthrough. A new skill can open a new income stream. A new perspective can heal a relationship or shift your approach to a problem. Continuous growth turns you into an adaptable, solution-oriented thinker, the kind of person who thrives in uncertainty because they're always learning how to respond, adjust, and rise. In contrast, stagnation breeds frustration. When you stop growing, you begin to feel stuck, even if your circumstances haven't changed. That stuck feeling is your mind and spirit craving expansion. Growth also changes your identity. As you learn, you begin to see yourself differently. You recognize your potential. You move from saying, I can't, or I don't know how, to saying, I can learn. I can figure it out. I can become the kind of person who knows how to do this. That shift in mindset is foundational. It creates momentum. It makes you more resilient because you stop fearing challenges and start seeing them as growth opportunities in disguise. The most successful people in the world often have one thing in common. They are voracious learners. They read every day. They invest in coaches and courses. They surround themselves with other people who challenge them to think bigger. They don't just consume information, they apply it. They embody the mindset that there is always another level to reach, always another edge to sharpen. This mindset doesn't just improve their external results. It keeps them mentally sharp, emotionally intelligent, and creatively alive. Learning and growth are not luxuries reserved for when you have time. They are essentials. They are fuel. They keep you moving forward when motivation fades. They keep you grounded when life gets overwhelming. They allow you to become the kind of person who doesn't just achieve success once, but sustains it over time because you're always upgrading your thinking, your strategies, and your self-awareness. So as we wrap this journey together, remember this. Success isn't something you stumble into. It's something you build from the inside out. It starts with the mind. It starts with clarity, with discipline, with repetition, with a powerful vision, and an unshakable commitment to growth. Your thoughts shape your beliefs shape your habits, and your habits shape your destiny. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait for the perfect timing. Everything you need to start transforming your life is already within you. Begin with one thought, one habit, one decision, and keep building, because when you rewire your mind for success, a rich life doesn't just become possible, it becomes inevitable. Now go out and live like the person you've already decided to become.